Mr. President, there's a prevailing skepticism that you will be unable to act on your stance to reach out the Muslim world. How do you respond to this?
Well, actually, we've made enormous progress. Obviously, I made my Cairo speech last year and sent a clear message that the United States is a friend and a partner with the Muslim world, that we obviously have a determination to defeat terrorism wherever it exists, and we want to partner with countries to deal with that issue, but we don't want terrorism to define our relationship to the Muslim nations around the world. We want to build on cooperation on trade, on economic development, on science and technology, on culture. And so what we've done is, to all the issues that I outlined in the Cairo speech, we've made progress on. I mean, one of the sources of great tension was the Iraq War. This summer, we expect to have ended combat operations inside of Iraq, and we will have all our troops out by next year. We talked about the need to reach out, and I've put forward, for example, in Pakistan, we're setting up an entrepreneurship center in Saudi Arabia. During Hajj, we worked to make sure that the H1N1 virus did not affect people during Hajj. I've assigned a Muslim envoy to attend organizations like the OIC and to figure out how we can work on a whole host of issues and how we can get more young people and student exchanges. And so there are a whole range of issues that we need to work on. We will continue to work on them.
Since you mentioned about the terrorism, that issue of terrorism is also facing Indonesia. Many believe that the roots of terrorism is poverty and injustice. Aside from financial intelligence assistance that the United States is giving, what kind of cooperation that U.S. would give to erase the roots of terrorism in Indonesia?
Well, I think there's a combination of things. I think that there are a lot of countries that have poverty but don't have terrorism. There is no doubt that if you have a lot of young people, particularly young men, who are unemployed, they're more vulnerable to recruitment by terrorist organizations. But I also think that there are ideological roots to terrorism where people have distorted Islam. And one of the things that I always valued so much about Indonesia when I was growing up was people were devout Muslims, but they were also tolerant of other cultures. And I think that that's the future of an Islam that is going to be able to modernize, become wealthier, become successful. I mean, the history of Islam is that at its height, it was pro-science, pro-technology. It was more advanced than many parts of the world. But what we do want to do is partner with Indonesia on economic development issues generally. Obviously, the crisis in the 90s had a profound effect on Indonesia. It has now built back up and is poised to do very well. And we think we can be good partners not only in providing assistance for development, but also trade. And that trade relationship is one that I think can be very, very important.
You mentioned about people to people. Many Indonesians have a high expectation that the U.S., under your leadership, successful implementing the two-state solution to the Israeli and Palestinian conflict. Is this a realistic expectation?
Well, it's going to be very hard. Obviously, it's been an issue for 60 years through Democratic and Republican administrations, through different governments in Israel. It is a very difficult conflict, but I am going to work as hard as I can while I'm president to make sure that we arrive at a two-state solution where Israel is secure and is living side by side by a prosperous and successful Palestinian nation. And everybody in the region understands that this is the right thing to do. The question is, how do we break down the barriers of trust or the barriers of distrust that exist between these countries?
Okay. My last question, Mr. President. What life lesson did you take from your experience in Indonesia that helped make you the person you are today?
You know, that experience was so important to me in so many ways. Obviously, just my interactions with the Indonesian people I just have great love and affection for the Indonesian people. I think that they are hardworking. They are love the families and communities. They're very calm, which I think helps me now in a very tense job. I think that living in Indonesia also reminded me of how big the world is. Indonesia is such a big country and such a diverse country, and there's so many different people there. And it reminded me that we have to have a broad view of the world and recognize that we're all interconnected, and that's very important. I'm really looking forward to getting back, and I'm looking forward to letting my children see what a wonderful country Indonesia is.